Hi everybody, Kevin Sell here with the next edition of United Group Services YouTube channel. And today I'm joined by Danny Dersch, our account manager here at UGS. And today we want to talk about line of fire specific to potential energy or stored energy or energy stored due to gravitational forces. And it's been a trend over the last 6 to 8 months. And we want to give a visual of the hazards and why we want people to be aware of line of fire, why we want it called out on the STAs, and why we want some of our less experienced craft professionals out of the way, and why you don't touch certain things. So, Danny, I know one of the most recent occurrences was with Sked 160 pipe, which is rare, real heavy. But look, you've been in the field for a long time. You've seen some of these incidents. You've seen some of the potential. I mean, just give your take to not only the craft professional, but to the site leaders out there, the importance of this and why it can be hazardous and we got to protect ourselves.
I guess, Kevin, with that, the first thing is the professionals with experience need to understand the crew that's with them while they're doing the work, to make sure they understand the hazards that come with the work they're doing, because newer guys, they don't understand that there's things that they can get pinched on and stuff like that. So the first thing I see is you need to make sure your crew understands what's going on. With the younger guys, make sure they understand the loads and the weights and all the hazards that can be involved with the pipe as you're rigging it, because obviously when you're rigging, there's many factors that play in that. Big thing to stress is don't touch the load. Yeah, one of the instances we had on one of my jobs, if we would have had a tagline on the load, maybe the less experienced guy would have been holding the pipe with a tagline instead of getting that knee-jerk reaction that we all have that's hard to get out of your system of just jumping in to try to stop this piece of pipe from hitting equipment. Obviously, your fingers, arms, your body is more important than a piece of equipment. The equipment can be replaced. We can't replace an injury to you. So
exactly, and in today's demonstration, we're going to use a tagline. So when you see these things occur, nobody's touching the load. We're all standing back. We're not touching. Also, Danny, tell us a little bit about the one incident. It was Sked 160, and I think we all can agree that we haven't seen a whole lot of that in past years. It's kind of rare. In this case, it occurred, but just the overall, so you have stored energy in what would commonly be a Sked 40, Sked 60, and now we're going to 160. Just explain a little bit, especially to our new craft professionals, that difference. But just talk about, the thickness, the weight difference, and then when we're storing that energy, that impact force is going to be a lot more.
That's why I go back to what I said before. Make sure the guys understand their weights and their loads and the severity of it. And obviously, luckily, it was a fitting where the guy got in between. If it would have been an edge of a pipe like we're going to show you here today, it very well could have
been an amputation. Could have been more severe. And that's just one example. I mean, there's several that we've had that some of them we've lucked out. To your point, they've been first aids, but it's grabbing that trend and knowing the severity and frequency by which we need to pay attention to the line of fire. And that's why there's such an emphasis behind it now, but it's going to carry forward into everything we do. And really, we both want to emphasize on the new craft professional. If you haven't been around it, you heard Danny talk about that. If it's a scheduled pipe you're not used to or you haven't seen, take the time, stop, ask, confirm, look at it, possibly move it around a little bit to see the characteristics, obviously not with your hands, but to see the weight differential and how it behaves differently, because that is really an impact. But also at the same point, we're using Sked 40 today. This can happen with 40. It can happen with 10 depending on how much stored energy there is. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to set up and show you 2 demonstrations. One, leaving it alone, not touching it and striking an object. The second, we're actually going to put a watermelon at risk and show you the damage that it does to a watermelon. And hopefully, most of us are visual learners, hopefully you walk away with a sense of that difference. from striking an object to striking an organic object, or much worse, a person. So let us take a few minutes break, get set up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're set up for the first demonstration, and in this case, we're on a chain fall, but Danny, I think we talked beforehand, this could be chain fall, come along, overhead crane, right? So it could be any suspended method that poses some type of force, and then it's angled a bit, which is kind of typical in most of the settings we do because nothing's a perfect fit.
Yep, because obviously to try to get it level, when you're taking things up, you're going to have obstacles unless you're doing brand new construction. Even in brand new construction, you can still have obstacles you got to get around. So you don't want to have angles in your load if you, at all possible. But obviously, there's times you got to be able to get your load into place.
Very good point. And I think we're ready to go. Okay, we're set up again, and this time we have an organic object, which is Mr. Watermelon, that just to show why we don't get into the middle of a line of fire situation. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the video crew and let them do their thing. Okay, so now we're back. You have seen both examples. Striking an object, striking a watermelon person, and by now through the video you've also have seen the slow motion footage, which is very compelling. With that, we also want to talk about how we set this up, and Danny, we wanted to set this up to where it was a realistically rigged device because, you know, to your point earlier, we could have made this really dramatic and yanked this thing back 10 feet, but it's really not what they're going to see in practice. Agree?
Yeah, we were going for a little more dramatics on the watermelon, but for us to get to that point, then we would have been doing something rigging that if you're doing out in the field, then you obviously need to stop your work and come up with a new plan, because what we would have had to do that could have created 5 or 6 other instances that could have caused more incidents. So that's another take on this is when you're messing with loads like this, always pay attention to your rigging and everything, and try to keep from having to do too much swinging. Nothing more than what we did here.
And look, it's a good safety point for us. We're doing these YouTube videos and we're trying to educate with visual examples, so it keeps us on guard to make sure that we're doing a couple things, that we're safe for us and the film crew, and that we're also providing something that's realistic for the field. So we're going to take a quick break. The second segment of this is moving material, and we're going to have to change the scenery quite a bit, but I think when you see it, when Danny and I come back, it's going to make sense because it's about moving stored material, not necessarily rigged. So we'll be back with a whole new environment and example. See you in just a second. All right, everyone, so we're back for segment 2. And in this portion, what we want to show is what we have to deal with a lot of times, whether we're loading or unloading pipe. In some cases, it could get away from you. Angles, grade, all sorts of things come into play. And the importance of what we're going to show you is to not touch it. Stay out of the way. And Danny, wouldn't you agree that, I mean, the type of pipe that we're using, and that really every day, whether you're fab shop or you're on a job site, you're going to be loading, offloading pipe.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to do is to remember that once it starts moving, you need to get out of the way, not try to stop it, not try to grab it, because that's where you can get smashed or crushed or something pinched. So the first thing you need to do is just get that out of your system, of your instinct of wanting to grab it or keep it from moving. That pipe ain't worth your fingers and stuff are worth that pipe falling.
Absolutely, and it's to your point, from an instinct standpoint, we could be videoing you and I could keep throwing tennis balls and you're going to catch them, knock them out of the way, and we just can't do it with things like this. We have to get out of the way, and distance is your friend. The further you get away, the better. So we're going to do that. Just like with the first segment, we're going to show a pipe dropping and just hitting the ground. Then we're going to bring another member of the watermelon family out to show you the destructive force. So give us just a few minutes to reset the stage here, and we'll be right back with the demonstrations. So here we are in the second demonstration. You saw the first one where the pipe hit the asphalt, and Chase was able to slow motion roll the footage, and then also you're going to see a picture of the gouge into the asphalt itself. So now we've placed Mr. Watermelon into the line of fire, and I'm going to turn it over to Chase to call the shots here so we can get this last footage in. Okay, so you saw in the second video of the pipe hitting the watermelon, which is very close to what would happen if it hit a person. And again, we're looking at things that our folks do almost every day, but the key is, and you heard Danny say this before, is get away from it. And Danny, I think you would admit that this last one we captured it perfectly, and that could be a foot, hand, anything, right?
Yep, knee. I mean, you even got to think about the bounce. That's another reason to get out of there. You might be far enough away that the initial drop doesn't get you, but the bounce could. So,
and we saw that today. So earlier, what you probably didn't see was the pipe missing the watermelon target, bouncing, hitting the watermelon, and still splitting it. So we have to be very careful. Bounce is always going to be that energy, and the energy is present until it stops. So we're going to get to where we can clean some stuff up and get out of everybody's way. I want to put a special thanks to Danny Dersch, who helped us out on this one, and then also our fantastic folks in the fab shop, shipping and receiving. So Chris, Tony, Chase Shotwell behind the camera, Cody behind me, Scott White, and others really helped put all this together because we were in multiple locations today on campus. So until the next time, be safe. Don't forget, stop, ask, and confirm. We'll see you.